Hi there, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of D2Football.com's NSIC Weekly Podcast. I am Tom Frederick. I've covered the University of Sioux Falls for 26 years now. Think of me as a poor man's Ed McMahon, the announcer, the sidekick, straight man to the star of our little production. The star is an avid follower of small college football for more than 20 years now. He has served as the Northern Sun Conference's columnist for D2Football.com for a decade. Faithful, loyal fan base. Give it up. Here's Matt Witwicky.
Wow, that was quite an intro. I don't know if I can live up to those words, but you know what? I would like to give you a hard time and all this, but with your new look, you know, we've got a few folks who have been writing in saying, Tom, that you have a similarity to a star in music, Chris Christopherson. Any connection to that at all? What do you think?
Well, he's 87 years old now. I know I skew old in our demographics here, but I wish I had a songwriting ability, Whit. You know what he's written through the years? Can you name at least 3 songs of Chris Christopherson's?
No, I absolutely cannot.
Help Me Make It Through the Night, For the Good Times, Me and Bobby McGee, Sunday Morning Coming Down. And who could forget your starring role in that 1977 motion picture opposite Barbra Streisand, A Star Is Born? I'd love to have had that role back in the day.
Remind me never to bring up a picture of what you look like ever again.
I guess one has to be content with the flowing hair at this stage of my life. That's it.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this last week, you obviously had a chance, my friend, to go ahead and make a trip on up to Duluth, your second straight road trip. Mary one week, Duluth the next. That's a little bit of traveling. And you were with Mr. Chad Berger this time, kind of filling in, pinch hitting for play-by-play. Color with your play-by-play. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, our normal sideline buddy, Chad Taco John's Berger, was a booth buddy this weekend. Tim Hyatt had a family obligation he had to attend to. Since 1998 now, he was just the 6th different person to help me on a football game. Next time Tim's gone, Whit, maybe we may have to send up the bat signal for you. But Chad did just fine. He added perspective from his playing days as an offensive lineman. But I got to tell you, back-to-back bus trips, you mentioned it, to Bismarck, followed to Duluth. They've taken a toll. Sunday night in bed for 11 hours. Last night it was 9. I think I'm almost back to feeling my age.
Now, with you and Chad, I'm trying to picture you guys both there facing the field. Were you able to feel him breathing at that point?
We could not sit side by side. He was standing behind me. So I did feel his hot breath on my neck. Yes. Chad, in the picture on the left, that was our booth. To see the scoreboard, you had to lean forward and crank your head to the right. And I got a stiff neck doing that. Molosky Stadium's a fine facility, great game day atmosphere, the field's top shelf. The numbers for both teams Saturday were so easy to read. It was like, falling off a log. But the press box is a joke. Looks nice from the outside, but where you call or coach the game from, it's substandard. That picture on the right, 5 coaches had to squeeze their way into that box for the entire game. Chad Berger on the left there is a big man, former offensive lineman, as I mentioned. It's just, how about getting some input next time from those who need to use the space before you dedicate that space? That's all I'm going to say, okay?
Well, maybe they'll make a change to that in the future. Who knows, my friend?
I don't think so. Well, the NSIC has cited 3 players for their production on the field September 16th. First one, Nick Bowen, Wayne State's junior signal caller out of Bennington, Nebraska. He had 386 yards total offense. He accounted for 5 touchdowns in the Wildcats' 49-10 demolition of SMSU. Bowen was 14 of 26 passing, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had TD runs of 11 and 10 yards. He must have had some pretty good lobbying on his behalf, because I thought UMD's sophomore quarterback Kyle Walljasper had a heck of a game against Sioux Falls. 13 carries, 136 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, plus he was 17 of 23 through the air for 270 yards. No scores passing, though, so I guess that 5th touchdown that Bowen was responsible for was enough to earn him this week's offensive trophy.
Yeah, I thought either guy would have been, a good selection. We've kind of been waiting for, Wayne to be a little bit more explosive offensively, and certainly we got it here. He is really at his best when he's able to also get, yards on the ground as well. And, they're despite the fact that they lost to Mankato a week ago, or 2 weeks ago now, they're still a real dangerous team in this league, and I expect them to be in it totally at the end.
Moving right along, the man in the middle on the screen there is Morehead junior linebacker Josiah Bame of Appleton, Wisconsin, right outside Green Bay there. He had 10 stops, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pass broken up. 38-17 non-conference victory over McKendree. I guess the only thing Josiah Bame didn't do was drive the team bus, and since the Dragons were home, he didn't need to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real full day right there. And, Peyton Buckley for Augustana also had a kind of a similar day. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show. But, Morehead is off to a great start, and their defense has been bulling their neck as well. I'm impressed to the start that they've gotten off to.
Lastly, and we can't forget special teams. The young man drawing most of the eyeballs last weekend was Northern State's kicker Drew Smoke. The sophomore from North Mankato went 5 for 5 on PATs. He was 2 for 2 on field goals, connecting from 38 and 43 yards in the Wolves' 41-10 pummeling of UMary.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. When you're perfect on the day and account for enough points like that, no question.
All right, it's time for us to recap week 3 in total. The NSIC picked up another win versus a non-conference opponent to improve to 4-1 in that regard. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we begin our look back with the late game from Saturday night. Augustana traveled to St. Paul to take on Concordia. While CSP got on the board first, Augie responded nicely with Casey Bauman hitting his favorite target, Jack Fisher, for a 23-yard touchdown. Bauman followed that up with another 23-yard TD pass, this time to tight end Mitchell Goodberry. And after that, the Vikings were up the rest of the way and outlasted the Bears 24-16 to remain unbeaten. Augie's 3-0. Concordia St. Paul sits at 1-2 after 3 weeks.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's look a little bit at some of the action. We've got some game footage from that time, and we're going to go ahead and kind of play that here momentarily. You get a chance to see Augustana here, Epperson, obviously making some plays. He had 80 yards, his best game of the year so far. Then you take a look at Augie. We've got, the receivers making plays here. Fisher obviously had another big day for them, Bauer. So as we go ahead and we kind of take a look at, Augustana's now moved to 3-0. They're kind of making some plays on both sides of the ball. I think, one thing I was kind of thinking was maybe, the defense would struggle a little bit more at times this year, but they've done very well, I think. And when you take a look at Bauman, I think he's been fairly steady for them as well, Tom.
For sure. For the second straight week, you were able to convince a head coach to come on the show with us. I don't know how you did it. This time it's the man who's at the wheel of the Augustana football program, beginning with the 2013 season. OJ, as he's known, has shepherded the Vikings to 3 postseason berths, 2015, 2019, and 2021. And the Vikings are off to a 3-0 start this fall. Welcome, Coach. Glad to have you aboard here on the NSIC Weekly Podcast.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it. Great to see you both.
Yeah, and Coach, I kind of was just alluding a moment ago to, I take a look at you guys. I thought had kind of a favorable schedule so far, and you guys have gotten out of the gate very well. You've really taken care of your business. What are the areas that you would say that you guys are doing really well? We saw some good things right there in the highlights. And what are some of the things that you think need marked improvement?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, schedule wise, it's going to continue to grow as this season goes on, and that's just the way it is. I had that same thing last year where you got to play ball, and whoever you're playing or wherever you're playing, you better show up. I do think we're playing good defense right now, good team defense. We got a bunch of new players in um, that are stepping into a new role this year, and that's always a concern. We had so many veterans that graduated that we knew were playmakers. So really proud of the guys that have stepped up into a more significant role, and the depth that we've been able to play with early. Hopefully will help us out later in the season as injuries happen and competition continues to grow. Offensively, with a new offensive coordinator, it sometimes takes some flow of the game to go through stuff, even though we had spring ball together. I like what we're doing, and I like who we're doing it with. I think we have a ton of talent. I think the kids are growing every week to understand the intricacies of what needs to happen so that during a flow of a game, things are going. So the other thing, and this is just old coachism, I think we're playing complementary football. If someone scores, we answer. When we get a score, we've gotten a stop. We've flipped the field several times. Like at Chadron, we got buried at the 7 and buried at the 10 from the punt game, and we were able to, march the field and score on one and then punt down inside their 10, and that's good football. So we have a lot of improvement to make. We still haven't played our best football, but I like where it's headed, and we know who we're going to do it with and how we need to do it.
Coach, I've kind of felt that you guys have done a nice job of getting some explosives down the field. But as you know, I'm going to look at things both good and bad. I really kind of felt that with Epperson and Lampkin. I was expecting you guys to be able to run the football a little bit better than you did these last few weeks. Is that a fair critique?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's first of all, I always respect your opinion. So from the inside. First of all, you look at some of our games. Mary, weren't really sure in game 1 what we were going to get. New staff, when you walk into it, I thought we stayed pretty balanced in that one. And again, we played a lot of people. You go game 2 at Chadron, they're putting 7 and 8 down in the box, and why we hit some of those explosive passes. They were pretty committed to saying you're not going to run the football and we're going to pressure you a bunch. And I thought Concordia played really well. I thought they played hard. Their front four, and especially early when they're healthy and the game didn't wear on, they were very effective. They move a bunch. But we did, we were able to open up some runs as the game went on. I thought Jared had a really good game. I thought Kyle Graham had a good game rushing the football. But I would agree at this point right now. I think the other thing is we're able to be more balanced, and we're spreading the ball around to different people. If you look at our stat sheet, who's making plays. We have a bunch of different guys catching the football. We have, 4 running backs now that have played in games.
Yeah.
So I do think it's an area we need to improve on without question. But it's also kind of belligerent by me. I wanted to be able to take what we get when defenses are there too.
Much as I hate to admit it, you said you always respect his opinion. There are days I wouldn't want to respect his opinion, but he's usually right on the ball. He is. We got to give him credit for that.
He's pretty good.
You mentioned the new offensive coordinator. That's Tyler Pow from USD.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. How has he adjusted your offense? How has it differed from the days of Trey Hyde and Kyle Sadler and CJ Ham?
Yeah, I think, we did good things then too. With Coach Shrink, we did some really good things there. I think that our balance will be better. I think we're going to be able to attack and under Coach Pow and how he does it, his business. I think we're able to stress defenses in every area of the field, not just running the football, but taking what defense are giving you in some sorts, and also inserting your will to say that we're going to take this because we've designed that to get it, like we did this past weekend. So I think you'll see the ball spread around a lot more. Like I said, you're going to see probably more first downs. Certainly the vertical ball, when it presents itself, we'll take those shots. But I think you'll see a greater consistency on the game. And hopefully the outcomes that follow. In this league, you got to be able to convert first downs and score in the red zone. Explosives are great. Don't get me wrong. And it's a category that everybody marches on. But you also, facing the offenses in this league that you have to keep some of those guys off the field too.
Your quarterback is Casey Bauman. He transferred in a year ago, but was injured at times. That limited his production. His second season here, he's looked sharp here early in the 3 wins that you've posted. How has his game progressed and improved? And how would you describe Casey Bauman as a signal caller?
Yeah, I think that his eyes are much better. I think the understanding of what we're asking him to do is very clear. Now he just got to execute it from the same things I just mentioned previously. I think Casey he's a better runner than people think, and because he's so darn long, his strides are about 4.5 yards when he gets going, but he's deceptively fast and creates some with his feet as well. I'm pleased with his play, especially going through the 3 games we've had. He's hard on himself. He's his hardest critic is Casey Bauman. So part of it is coaching him through that and saying, yeah, we get it. You could have taken this or should have taken that. And as he works through that, I think he's going to be a very proficient player in our league, because I think he's one of those guys that's going to get better every game we play.
We got one more offensive question for you. You added a former Sioux Falls O'Gorman standout to your program, wide receiver Kenyon Bauer. He drops back from South Dakota State. What does he add to the offense? You've already got a good receiving core, and you added another one to the room with Kenyon Bauer.
Well, he's a great player and a great leader. Kenyon is a mature young man, maturity beyond his years, actually. And just the hard work, and he fit in immediately. The day he walked into the locker room, it was like that, and gained respect of not only the team but a relationship with the players. He's been such an unbelievable addition. Again, great leader. It starts there. You're not going to outwork him, and he's a pretty doggone good football player. We haven't been able to utilize him as much. He's got a little leg injury going on, but he's fighting through that, and he looked better today. So I'm excited for when he's full speed, like game 1, the things that he's going to be able to do for this offense.
Coach, enough about all this offense stuff.
He wants to talk special teams.
No, that's not where we're going at all. But defensively, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier that I had a concern because I thought that you guys were possibly losing your top 3 defenders from a year ago. And, now we look at you, you're allowing 8 points a game, which is best in the conference, 4th nationally, by the way, if you were wondering. And, Peyton Buckley has stood out, but he's done that at points in the past as well, I thought. But who are some of the other defenders who are kind of like the next wave for you of household names in the program?
Yeah, well, I think you go right along with Peyton, who's a captain for us as a junior. Another junior captain is Hayden Wallace, has stepped up in that role where TJ Liggett was. And, Hayden played a lot of snaps for us last year as well. He's a dynamic football player and has helped us, and a great leader to get the front and backside dialed in. Then you look at our defensive line. Grayson Dippenbrock graduates, and he was a productive player for us. In week 2, Grady Sherman really steps up. He's a young player that I think is just going to be a star in this league as it continues to grow because of his athleticism and his toughness. An unsung hero is Jack Wilson, our nose guard. He's a Sioux Falls, Washington kid and just a lunch pail guy. He's an A-gap, work his tail off, extremely durable, tough guy. And you just his personality is flatline. Jack is so cool and even demeanor about it. And then I like our corners. When I look at what we're doing, with Javion Farr played a lot of snaps for us last year, and Jake Paulson returns as a starter there. I think we're as deep at corner as we've been in my 10 years here, which hasn't been the case, and we need to cover better out there. So those are some of the guys I think are really playing well and need to play well as we grow forward. I'll say this about our defense. They don't panic. That first drive against Concordia St. Paul, they rushed it completely down the field for 75 yards, didn't throw a pass. There was no panic. We got to the sidelines, realized the adjustments we had to make. They ran for 32 yards the rest of the game. And there was no panic about it. They made some really great plays on the perimeter that were well defended. And I had to tell one of our guys, like, you're in great shape. The kid placed it right where it should be, and he made a one-handed catch twice. I'm like, that happens. They get scholarships too. So I just think there's a confidence growing in that group, and we're going to get tested more every week. They're going to get tested this week, to a Morehead team that's very, very explosive and consistent offensively for sure. So that maturity that we didn't have, I think is starting to show up, Matt.
Well, we've laughed a bit, Coach, about how often Augie's opponent, MSU Morehead, throws the ball. You can insert your own Henny Youngman joke here. I just flew in from Cleveland. Boy, are my arms tired, you know. The Dragons have 50 plus more attempts than any other NSIC team throwing the ball in just 3 weeks. We know they throw it. They don't have much of a running game at this point. They spread it out, short passes to Florence as part of the run game, I guess. You could. Their defense, to me, appears to be significantly improved. You've watched film on them. Tell us about the Dragons, this week's homecoming opponent.
Yeah, Tom, you're right on point. You know, that Coach Lockwood does a great job with that offense of treating the pass like a run. You know, it's perimeter throws, but it's the same as running the football. You know, the ball is out in 2 seconds. It's difficult to get pressure on them. They'll take the sniper shots when they're there, and you start doing some things. I just got done with the McKendry film late last night, and just put the ball. Jack Strand's a heck of a quarterback. You know, he's really playing at a good level. I liked him out of high school, and he's really coming into his own in that offense. And then they got great ball skills. Those kids don't drop many balls. You know, no matter where they're throwing, they really do a great job of catching the ball and getting their foot in the ground and making first guy miss a lot of the time. So very, very good offensively. Defensively, yes, they have improved a major amount. They'll move a lot. And I understand why. They're a little bit undersized up front, so they move and they do it really well. Get into some odd front, get into some TNT, some bear stuff almost, and certainly moving from their 4 down. And then in their secondary, that gives them an opportunity to do a little bit other things when they want to pressure too. So I think they're a really good opponent for us right now. And, you know, we're going to have to play good football. You know, we talk about in our staff meeting, you know, is it a team you got to outscore? No, you got to outplay them, you know, and not lose your patience, not lose your composure. They're going to get first downs. They're going to move the ball. Just don't panic about it and make sure you tackle where it's at, and don't let a 5-yard play become a 15-yard play or a 50-yard play. And if we can do that, you know, then our offense will show up and do the same thing, hopefully to their defense, and be able to hit some explosives and also run the ball with some power too.
Well, Coach, we're kind of done asking you questions about ball. I do need to kind of have something I need to bring up with you. And you had mentioned to me on text message that you appreciated Tom's old school references.
I do.
Coach, you are not that old.
I'm an old soul, Matthew. So my dad would have been preaching some of the things that Tom says. I get a chuckle out of it, you know. I do. So you keep doing it, Tom. Don't let wit chase you out of it, man. You got to be the original you are. So for some of us, I'd actually get the references. It's hitting home. So yeah, you can throw daggers at each other and have your fun, but I appreciate it.
I've got you guys by 12 to 15 years. I'm glad you appreciate it. He's too young. He just doesn't get it. Our thanks to Jerry Olszewski today for joining us here on the NSIC Weekly Podcast. In 10 seasons with Augustana, the record 66 wins, 39 losses, including 3-0 this fall. Augie with a big homecoming showdown Saturday against Minnesota State Morehead. Any distractions when it comes to homecoming? That's an old reference to Kim Nelson at Quarterback Club years ago.
Yeah. Remember those days? I love those days. Those were great. Yeah, you know, I told the team on Monday when we met that, you know, the schools that have football, homecoming is all about the football game. You know, that's what homecoming. That's what people come back for, to see not only each other and the alumni, but, you know, to take in the football game is usually the center point of most homecomings, certainly in my 30-year career. And with that, their job is to put on a great show. You know, have the fan base and your alumni proud of your institution by not only how you play, but how the outcome goes. So we've been pretty good on homecomings, and we'd love to keep that way as we go forward. But their job is to, and there's also that thing, guys, is you're a freshman and you're in the dorms. There's a lot of buzz. You know, they're building floats, they're doing this or that. I was like, number one, your academics. Number two, take care of football. Make sure you get it right. Number three is the social part that you want to engage with and get it done. But that comes after the first two. And our kids are pretty mature about it. So I'm looking forward to it. I told them Saturday night, you can go have your fun, and, you know, hopefully it's in a celebratory way, but you got to earn that. So that's how I feel about it.
Good luck on Saturday, and we will see you on the 30th with the key to the city on the line.
Yeah. Look forward to it, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to week 3 action in the Northern Sun, shall we?
Yep. Give me a minute to get everything all set, my friend, and we will be rocking. There we go.
He's the producer of this one, too. He's just not the star of the show. He's behind the scenes as well. The man behind the curtain, sort of like the Wizard of Oz.
Good old reference. There we go. Okay, so what game we want to talk about next?
We want Morehead right off the bat there.
There we go. Let's talk about it.
Last Saturday was Morehead's chance to face a non-conference opponent, hosting McKendree from just north of the St. Louis area. The Bearcats are from the Great Lakes Valley Conference. Dragons got after the Cats right away, led 24-3 at halftime. MSUM gave up late points, but still won comfortably, 38-17. Coach Olszewski mentioned his name earlier. That sophomore signal caller for Morehead is a guy named Jack Strand, and all he did was go 30 of 43 for 387 yards and 4 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks. Jack Strand, though, right up there nationally, 3rd in passing yardage.
You're going to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. You're going to have some of the other team catches at some point.
I think so, yeah.
Now, notice, though, Tom, when we kind of move down a little bit here, they have got a variety of guys catching the ball. Perriman had a few scores a few weeks ago. This is not by any means the Gage Florence show. You kind of see what I'm getting at here?
Yep.
So now I mentioned Yogi Flagger last week. He was a top player in our All-American group, and he still ended up having a big game for McKendree. But I want to point out something to you that you may not have taken notice of, my friend. And I noticed this at halftime of the contest. And you know what that was? The rushing yards for the home team.
Wow.
Did you see they rushed for almost 100 yards?
That's unbelievable.
They've been listening to the pod a little bit. That's what it is.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know about that.
You want to think that? Go ahead.
It sounded good, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we moving along?
We're moving along. What we got next, my friend?
The game I did. Sioux Falls at Minnesota Duluth. Bulldogs dominated this game, winning 42-34, but they didn't put the Cougars away. UMD outgained Sioux Falls 550 to 327, averaged 10 yards a play, but had to white knuckle at home to earn the W. Kyle Walljasper, I mentioned him back in the Player of the Week section. He was especially impressive for the Minnesotans. I talked about how I thought he could have been the Player of the Week. Accounted for more than 400 yards of total offense. He rushed for 4 touchdowns. He threw for 270. He found Sam Pitts, the guy you talked about ad nauseum last week, number 0. He caught 8 balls, 133 yards for the 3-0 Bulldogs. Now, USF in this game showed a lot of heart. They were down 14-0, 35-14. They could have folded, but didn't. They made it very interesting at the end, but nobody's in it for moral victories. Cougars sit at 1-2.
Yeah, and watching this game, Tom, I mean, we got to the point where UMD was up 35-14. And I thought, okay, is this the point where they just kind of cruise from here, or where does this game go? Well, Sioux Falls scored, then got a turnover on special teams, and all of a sudden they got themselves, right there within a score in the contest. And I was thinking, okay, where does this go from here? Well, to the credit, as you alluded to, Mr. Walljasper, he was just a difference maker in this one. He really was. I was very impressed, though, with Camden Dean for Sioux Falls and his ability to make plays both on the run and also be able to find the open man. The Sioux Falls defense, I mean, right now they're kind of like, I don't know, second chair French horn. They just got to play better, when we take a look at when the guy gets through the front line right now, they need to be able to close on them a little bit quicker, and there's just too many chunk plays against them right now. And we'll see this coming week when they've got Minot in that option. That might be a big ask for a young team as well.
Yeah, they just need to tackle better. Coach Klogowski at practice tonight said, well, at least we're lined up in the right spots now after 3 games. We just need to tackle better, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Small victories, my friend.
in a rematch of a 2022 first-round playoff game, Winona State kept up with Bemidji for a half, down 16-10 at intermission. But the Beavers' aerial attack finally kicked into gear. Bemidji put it away, won 36-10. Brandon Alt, what did he do? 338 yards, 4 more touchdown passes. He did get sacked 3 times by a good Winona front seven, and he also threw a pick. But end of the day, Bemidji still unbeaten at 3-0.
You know, I was really impressed actually, Tom, with both defenses. I think Winona's defense is a little bit better than sometimes the score might indicate. You know, sometimes their offense leaves them out there for a while. But, you know, as I look further into the game, I'm watching it, and you alluded to Brandon Alt, and, you know, we kind of joked around last week with Coach about, you know, his star passer and running around for yards all of a sudden, and why are we doing that? And he's got knee brace and drama from the past. Well, apparently they decided to kind of troll us a little bit, Tom, because all of a sudden I'm watching the game and this happens. Mr. Alt goes back to pass, then decides not only is he going to step up in the pocket, but screw that Witt guy. We're going to go run for this. And now we're going to go run a little bit further. And he almost gets a tud on a 50-yard carry. I don't know where to go with this anymore, Tom.
I think you may be giving yourself way too much credit here, man. But
apparently he's become Lamar Jackson all of a sudden. So, but I thought this was a better game than the score might indicate. You know, when Winona's offense had plenty of chances in the red zone and didn't convert, there was one where I thought, frankly, that they did score a touchdown in the corner. I thought their guy had a foot down, but they didn't get it. I think I showed that to you. I think we both kind of agreed on that. That might have changed things a little bit, but at the same time, Bemidji, if you don't get them when they're not playing their best in the first half, good luck, because they're going to get you in the second half probably. And they did it again in this one, just like they did in the playoffs 1 year ago.
Yep. All right. Our next one up in Canada, or Minot, excuse me. Minot hosted Minnesota State Mankato. Mavericks had that long trip, and they came home with a W, 52-25, improving to 3-0. Minot winless. Mavericks were up 28-7 after the first period, and essentially, if I was doing the game, I would have said, this one's over, it just ain't done yet. But Sheen, Butler, Lawson scored 3 times for the Minnesotans. Minot averaged, though, nearly 7 yards a carry in that triple option offense, rushed for 270 yards. But at the end of the day, the Mavericks proved too powerful.
Well, there was points where Minot drew things a little closer in the second quarter. And, you know, there's a ball player I like quite a bit on that squad. Basically, their dieback, their fullback, Evan Lovett, good sized player, comes through the hole, and he's just kind of that guy that safeties really don't want to come up and have to hit. And you take a look, and he and Miles West, who also ran for a 49-yard score, you know, they made some plays in this game, and I think that they're kind of Minot's figuring it out more and more with regard to this offense each week. Now, they did only throw the ball 7 times, which is in stark contrast to how they've been in the previous games. So, you know, as they come up, you know, they're going to be traveling obviously for where you're at in Sioux Falls for that game. I'm not sure if Sioux Falls knows what to expect with regard to how often they're going to throw or not at that point. But, you know, I think this has to be kind of encouraging if you're Minot in that case. And on the other side, you know, Mankato just kind of took care of business. They built an early lead. They got William King some reps. He came in the second quarter and was getting reps at quarterback. So I think it actually ended up being a game that kind of fit the need for both teams, and both probably feel a little better coming out of it.
I got a personal question to ask you here. Have you started smoking? Because that voice of yours is so raspy. Man, you sound like Mars Shot.
You know what? After all the webinars today, my friend, at the real job, oh my goodness. I barely have anything left. See, I just do everything for the show. That's who I am.
Laying it on the line, leaving it out there on the field. He's Matt Witwicky. from NSIC Weekly Podcast. All right, SMSU lost at Wayne State 49-10. Nick Bowen, the Offensive Player of the Week. Wildcats outgained the Mustangs 497-290. They were a +4 in the takeaway department. I guess that pretty much sums it up, 49-10, all Wayne State and Wayne America.
Yeah, you take a look at 3 picks that the Mustangs threw. That's a real big factor in a game like this. And then some of the explosive plays Wayne was able to make. This is something that we saw a little bit more of with Wayne last year, is they were able to get some deep shots off and get some more explosive plays. I think that's a little bit more of what they're going to be going forward. But, as we take a look, Nick Bowe, not a real heavy load in this one, only 7 carries. I think you and I both know that when it comes to some of those bigger games this year, Tom, he may carry the ball 20, 30 times. And hopefully he can stay healthy.
University of Mary Witt ventured to Aberdeen to play Northern State. They've had great success against the Wolves of late, but not so fast, my friend, as you would say. Saturday, it was all Northern, 41-10. The Wolves finally got that Mary monkey off their back, dominating the game. Total offense numbers 460-143. DeWaylen Ingram, 100-yard receiving day. And the Northern running game, actually with backs carrying the ball this time, that running game got on track.
Yeah, you can see that they didn't put nearly as much emphasis on their, first-time starter, Colton Hackle. Hackle, I thought, had a respectable day in that first start. And, you take a look, Ingram is leading the Northern Sun in receiving yards. And, he's a heck of a weapon. But let's not discount the fact that Dakota Larson is still there and he can still make a whole lot of plays. That's hard to find a better tandem in the conference, in my opinion. And Ian Marshall got his first sack of the year, All-American defensive tackle. So all around a pretty good win for Northern. You and I had kind of alluded, at the beginning of the year that it was going to be a real big ask for Coach Schillinger to, be able to kind of hit the ground running with this group due to not only all the losses they had from their squad a year ago, some of the kind of star power they had, but also because the fact he joined the club as late as he did, that's just a result of the hiring. And it's going to be a tough go. And, you can see Forknell started this last game, probably on the heels of how he finished the game against USF, frankly. But he was sacked 5 times and, didn't get a very a warm welcoming there.
That's our recap for week 2. I should say week 3, beg pardon. Falling behind myself here. Week 3 in the NSIC. And as you've heard by now, loyal fan base, Boss's Pizza and Chicken sponsoring this little show we call the NSIC Weekly Podcast. Boss's owner, Jeremy Seafelt, wants to spread the word about his Midwest expansion plans. There are plenty of markets within the NSIC and Division II that are in need of a good pizza and chicken establishment that can also serve as a neighborhood sports bar where you can watch and stream your local team. Bosses, with 10 locations in the upper Midwest, again, they're looking to grow. And if you'd like to be a franchisee, we ask that you visit bosspizzaandchicken.com. Run it all together, BOSS, pizza and chicken.com. Up the top right corner, click on the franchise link. Let them know where you heard about potentially becoming a part of the Boss's family. Our little show will get a nice reward. I think I read somewhere it's a year's supply of ranch dressing. That's what we'll think about it.
I don't know if that would get me too excited then, but okay.
All right, pull up your pizza challenge here, would you? There we go. Friday, September 29th, Witt and D2Football.com's Grand Poobah, Brandon Meisner. Those aren't the 2 guys on the screen. That's not.
Those guys are much thinner than we are. You're right.
They're going to attempt the Boss Hog Pizza Challenge. They'll have 1 hour, 60 minutes to consume a massive 28-inch pizza with 3 toppings. Now, Whit, you've told me pepperoni, extra cheese, What's the other meat going to be?
Well, Brandon and I spoke about this the other day, and we're both kind of agonizing over it a little bit because I'm not a bacon person. But it would seem like it's probably the right choice in terms of not weighing down the product. Other proteins would be things like Italian sausage, and that's simply going to weigh down the pizza too much. So if I have to do bacon, I don't eat bacon with breakfast because I think it's got the consistency of chewing on an earlobe. So I'm really not looking forward to that part of things. But you know what? If I'm busy trying to enjoy this pizza, Tom, then we have bigger problems. I just need to be in go mode.
I'm just shocked here. I'm dumbfounded. You don't like bacon? That's un-American.
Well, maybe.
Midwest? Oh, man.
I know. Well, you know what, Tom? We've had a lot of requests from our loyal fan base to bring back the Jeopardy segment of a year ago.
Hold it. We want to make sure that everybody knows when this Boss Hog Pizza Challenge is.
Oh, I thought they knew already. Good point. Tell them.
September 29th, 3 p.m., Boss's Pizza and Chicken location on Minnesota Avenue between 26th and 33rd on the west side of the street. If a number of our faithful podcast listeners show up to watch this potential Hindenburg disaster, is it going to put undue pressure on you?
No, I'm here to have a fun time with this. Brandon and I are both. Now, it could get interesting if he's not pulling his weight.
Which is what? What's the tip?
Things might get a little bit chesty there all of a sudden if he's not pulling his weight. But I new news. People who don't know, I learned that I can stand up during the pizza challenge time, and if I can stand up and let gravity kind of help out with this process, I think I've already added 5 or 6 pieces of pizza just on that alone.
And again, if you guys do it, I'm taking you out for ice cream afterwards.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, you know what? Enough about that whole pizza thing. Once again, our rabid fan base just could not get enough time of the Jeopardy segment of a year ago. So I figured at this point, since there are 3 weeks into the season, and hands off of your keyboard, no trying to check anything, hands.
Who wrote these questions? Because there's a Writers Guild strike. These better not be questions from Hollywood.
Well, it might have been Chad from T. It might have been Paul from Sioux Falls. I don't know.
Hands off the keyboard.
Yes. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and start in with the first of your 5 Northern Sun Jeopardy questions.
Wow.
Now, we could probably make a case, and for those who don't know this from last year, Tom is kind of a Jeopardy dork. And was that a fair assessment?
I watch it religiously. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with my assessment then. Yeah. So we figured what better than to bring this to our pod. So Tom, okay, the first question that we're going to have. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm all ears and hair.
What team leads the Northern Sun in scoring after 3 weeks?
Minnesota State Mankato.
Wow. We weren't expecting you to get things right just like this. They are number 1 in scoring right now in the conference, scoring, 45 a game?
I think that's
now you've got us a little bit worried here. That you might get more than one right.
Us, you, and who you got in your pocket with you there?
The people who came up with these questions. Anyway, How about who is in last place in the league in rushing the football?
MSU Morehead.
We knew you would say that. It's actually Mary. We gotcha. Okay. Who is the highest? What team has the highest completion percentage passing right now?
University of Sioux Falls.
We kind of figured you might overlook that, but apparently you've been going through all the details.
Camden Dean is well over 70%. Accurate.
Yeah, they're at 70 right now as a team. So you got 2 out of 3 right.
Oh.
My goodness.
I'm old, but I'm not infirm.
So let's go for question number 4.
They are
Are you
going
to finish over 500 on this? This you might surprise everybody. What team has not thrown a pick yet?
Why not?
Good governor. He's gotten 3 right so far.
Hey, I've been prepping for this game this week. I saw that.
Where's your other hand at? You're pulling up the stat page.
Jazz hands, no way.
Okay. And our final question. I like having the music, by the way. It's a nice touch, isn't it?
I hope you don't get stocked any royalty payments out of that.
It's kind of peaceful, but I didn't think about that. We might get flagged for this.
Ka-ching.
Last question time. Hands on buzzers. What team has the most picks, the best turnover margin, and the most sacks?
Oh, geez, that's tough, Whit.
What, am I going to play the song again? How much time will we give?
Northern State.
Bemidji.
That would have been I should have gone Bemidji. Yeah, darn it.
Well, you did better. We set the bar low. We thought you would finish under 500 like you were failing last year. But you have apparently redeemed yourself and gotten 3 out of 5 right. Now that you think that we might do this again in the future, we're going to have to do this kind of intermittently just to surprise you.
Okay. I won't prepare for it every week then.
Don't do that. Okay. It's much more fun without it. No. Fair enough.
Back to football. What do you say we preview the September 23rd games this Saturday? Massey computer rankings are providing the point spread. Remember, this is simply an exhibition, not a competition. No wagering, please.
No wagering? Okay.
No wagering. All right, we're going to lead off with Minot State at the University of Sioux Falls, where the home team is favored by 29 points. Wow. I expect the 0-3 Beavers to leave Sioux Falls 0-4. Cougars will get back to 500 with a 10th consecutive victory over Minot. 29 points, though, is a lot to cover. I'm looking forward to seeing the Beavers triple option, but I don't think the Cougars beat them by more than 29. I really don't. That's a Sioux Falls win, though.
I got Sioux Falls winning also. I don't think they cover the 29. I think there's going to be some times in this game where Minot really gets those chunk plays, whether it is, the dive plays, which in my opinion are kind of Minot's best thing right now as they're operating. And every once in a while, I think they might get outside. But for the most part, I think Sioux Falls is going to control the action, and I think that Sioux Falls offense will have a lot of success. I just don't know if they cover that number we mentioned.
Next up, it's homecoming at Kirkby Over Stadium on the Augustana campus. MSU Morehead against the Vikings. Massey has Augie a 17-point favorite. Now, that might be generous based on Morehead's early performance this year, but I do believe with all my heart the Vikings will celebrate homecoming in style with a win.
You know what? I look back to, I remember watching Morehead at Augustana back in, 2017, when Morehead was able to pull a pretty big upset back at that time. But this is a much different Augie team than they were kind of in a bit of a rebuild, reshuffle at that point in time after Trey Hyde had left. I look at this right now, and I think that this is Augustana's kind of chance to show what they have on this offense. And I think that they pretty well know what they have when they're facing Morehead here, is that they're just going to have to really, scramble to the ball when they throw on the bubbles and stuff like that. I think Morehead could make this game pretty close. I'm not sure if Augie wins by the 17, but I do have the Vikings winning it.
Northern State is at Winona State. Northern's a 7-point underdog, but I think the Wolves build on their win from last week, while the Warriors are going to drop their third game of the season. How do you like them apples?
You know what? I've had mixed thoughts about this one. And by the way, Tom, I'm glad that we're getting a little bit more into the schedule where we have some more of these games that we really think are kind of coin flip ones, because the first 3 weeks didn't offer us a ton of that. But I'm gonna go with Winona's defense being the story of the day. I think it's probably getting lost a little bit in the fact that they are 1-2 at the moment. Winona tends to play pretty well there at Maxwell. I have them winning this game. I'm just not sure the Northern State offense, younger quarterback, and so forth, is quite ready for that right now. So I got Winona winning this.
Minnesota Duluth down in our neck of the woods here over in southwest Minnesota on Saturday afternoon to play SMSU in Marshall. Favored by 24, the Bulldogs. I fully expect UMD to roll to an impressive victory, and they'll be 4-0 when they head back north.
I think Southwest may be able to slow down this running game a little bit. I just don't have enough faith right now in the Southwest offense on the other side, and I think Duluth's defense flies to the ball pretty well. I missed. What was the spread on this one, Tom?
This one, 24.
Ooh, that's a big number. I like Duluth. I don't know if that's going to be by that number, though.
Concordia St. Paul goes to Mankato. 32 points is the spread there. Far be it for me to disagree with Massey's ancient computer. Mankato is a lock, but 32 seems to be, man, that's a lot of points to cover.
I've kind of alluded to it this year, Tom, and I think CSP is better than, kind of how they would be looked at in the coaches poll and so forth. I think they're moving closer to the middle of the pack type of area than they are at the very bottom. But at the same time, going to Mankato, after playing Augie a week ago is kind of a big ask. I don't have Mankato winning by that number. I think Concordia can do some good things. But I do, of course, I think you have to go with the Mavs here.
Bemidji State at the University of Mary. That's a 2:00 kick in Bismarck. The Massey folks have installed the line at Bemidji by 28 in this one.
Yeah, when I take a look at this one, Tom, Bemidji is just on a roll. And, UMary is still trying to kind of, find their way a little bit. So my immediate concern is that this is probably going to be a fairly one-sided game. I would take Bemidji to cover any number at that point, reasonable number. They're going to come after the quarterback. They're going to run the football pretty well, I think. And at the same time, they can be explosive in the air. They're just a whole lot of football team right now.
Final game on Saturday, September 23rd is a night contest. It's a non-conference tilt. Wayne State is at Missouri S&T of the Great Lakes Valley Conference. Wayne State, the 19-point choice. I don't know if that's enough, Whit. The S&T Miners just lost to Upper Iowa, for crying out loud, 38-26 to fall to 0-3. Look for the WSC Wildcats to uphold the NSIC's honor and roll in Rolla.
Yeah, I think Wayne State's going to enjoy the fact that, they get a non-con game like this. One that's not, wild travels. And I think they're going to capitalize on how they played a week ago. And I think you're going to see them really roll in this game. And, I think Wayne State's going to be kind of that team that's going to quietly move on back towards the top. And this is just another step right here.
All right. I think we differ on one game. This week is it. That's the Winona game in Northern State. I went with the Wolves. You went with the Warriors. Through 3 weeks, what are the standings in this pick'em deal here?
Yeah, to the surprise of nobody, I'm 22-0. And you know what? I will give you this. I know that last week you probably kind of were half and half on taking Sioux Falls, and you just kind of different things up. You're 21-1. So I think, though, in these next few weeks, after this, I think we're going to see quite a bit of ones that you and I may not agree on. And that's going to make this all the more interesting.
All right. We have reached the end of the line. A wrap for season 2, episode 5. NSIC Weekly Podcast is a production of D2Football.com. Join the D2 community every Sunday night at 7 for an intense look at Division II football. They broadcast it live on X, formerly Twitter, and also on YouTube. They'd love for you to check them out. Check us out each week. Either post it late Tuesday night or Wednesday evening. It depends on the schedule of the guy who's got to work full time here, the man with the raspy voice. So for the In Training for the Boss Hog Pizza Challenge, Matt Witwicky, this is happy to be home for the next 2 weeks. Tom Frederick saying thanks for the visit, and we'll see you again next time.